Hey everyone, and welcome along. Some confusion today about start times. I do apologise. Webinar time to start at 4:20, and the reminder went out for 4:10. We will be having a little chat with the team about this for next week. I do apologise for the hold up. Look, I'm going to jump in and get into some market analysis. I can see I've got Geoff and Lexus in the room as well. Welcome along, guys. How you doing?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, going well. A little bit weary. I've been in the car all day and been very warm in the sunshine, but I'm here and I'm awake.
Honestly, mate, people talking about the sunshine have no joy from me.
No, not happening.
It has not been beautiful in New Zealand. It's fair to say it has not been beautiful in New Zealand. Alexis, mate, but otherwise things are good, and we're going to have you on reasonably soon talking currencies, right?
Great, awesome.
Did you, Geoff, did you make any money on the election at all?
Oh, Aussie's going okay. That's about the only one I put any election value in, I suppose. Everything else I was trying to avoid it, to be fair.
Fair enough. Look, I'm going to share screen, talk about some stuff, and we are going to get underway. We're keeping an eye on the social media. And we won't count down from there because people are expecting some stuff from us a little bit earlier. What I might do as well, if you give me a second here. I think one of the really interesting things this week is the difference in the news, and I'm going to bring this up and share this instead to start with. And look, last week we had FOMC, non-farm payrolls, US election, Bank of England Monetary Policy Committee. I think we have Canadian unemployment as well. And last week we had everything, right? And news for this week, well, Bank of England governor speaks on Monday, nothing on Tuesday, official cash rate from New Zealand. I mean, this stuff can always surprise, but it's not a big deal. Half the world on holiday on Wednesday. Nothing major on Thursday. President Lagarde speaks, got to watch that. Governor Bailey speaks, got to watch that. Fed Chair Powell speaks, got to watch that. But none of it, there's nothing here that you think is going to move this market. And I think what that means for us, it makes it a really interesting week for us as traders. Look, we're hoping for, I think the majority of people in the world believe that, that Donald Trump has lost. And if it stays that way during the week, unless there's something quite unusual in the legal stuff around it, I think we're going to see the market hit a trend this week and go. And look, the trend towards the end of last week was US dollar weakness. I wouldn't be surprised to see that continue, given there's nothing here to stimulate it differently. At the same time, I'm going to let this unfold on Monday morning and give me some direction. And I expect to be in the market later Monday, early Tuesday, and starting to take that direction and trust it for the week. And that's really what I'm looking to do. I just think this lack of news after all that news last week, we should see market direction and we should be able to follow on, if you ask me, from it for the week ahead. I've been trying to think for ages about trying to remember John McCain's name, and I can't. All of a sudden, I can't remember who won the US election 2 days ago or a day ago. Who won, guys?
Well, the guy who's got the most votes is Joe Biden. Whether he's won or not is another story. But you'd like to think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah, Joe Biden won. We'll see whether some other stuff goes on, but Joe Biden won on the 9. Thank you, Shukri. Much appreciated. We are, and welcome along, Shukri. And I'll make sure that my get some powers for you guys. So look, it's been for mine. It's been an interesting week. You know, we had the election special on Wednesday. We managed to talk about the change of momentum in the election from Trump away from Trump in the markets. We've had a pretty good week of market analysis, and we've had this election starting to shake out more slowly. And as someone put on my news thread the other day, that from now on the Americans will never be able to talk about cricket being long and boring because they couldn't get a result in just as many days. For mine, we talked a little bit about this on Thursday, that I really loved as we came out of the election. I thought this was the best pattern of all the charts, and this is gold. This is a daily chart where we saw this new top to the triangle, if you like. We'd seen price for a long time stuck between a monthly pivot that was here and the 100-day moving average and just going sideways. We saw this break of the trend line, and we saw this retest, and we saw this retest close on the trend line. And we said on Thursday morning that anything from this point up was long, and that I was biased long on gold. Now that as far as I'm concerned, I'm out of this. I'm not sure where it's going, and I am going to remain biased long on gold, until I have a reason not to be. For now, I'll be looking for a pullback and a retest of this level here, top of this range around 1930. And if I get that, I'll be starting to get pretty interested in getting gold up towards 1973, or perhaps a little higher around that $2,000 mark. Personally, I know it's against the seasonals and a little bit against the COT data, but overall, I'll remain bullish on gold until I have a reason not to be. It's one of these things, I talk a lot about this pattern here. Decisive bar, inside tight bar reversing at the top, comes to the bottom of the bar. Happens all the time. I underrated in the industry for mine. And here, we didn't get it. Here we got a bullish close. And we got that decisive bar. We got this little bar at the top, but we got a bullish close to it. And really, for mine, I'll remain bullish on gold above 1930 and move on. I'm going to keep an eye on the questions. Look, I won't talk a lot about dollar index. Lloyd's not in today, but Geoff will probably talk a little bit about dollar index. Julian might as well. But my feeling is there's been a really clear move here, and it's not dollar strength. So this is Thursday, this is Friday. So this is gold going up, and therefore it's the US dollar going down. Now, let's have a bit of a look at the rest of these. Bitcoin going up, US dollar going down. NASDAQ going up, US dollar going down. S&P 500 going up, US dollar going down. All's a bloody mess, who cares? Euro dollar, euro going up, USD going down. Dollar yen, dollar first, dollar going down. And what we've seen post-election for me really is a US dollar weakness move. And that'll be the move that I'm looking with the lack of news. That'll be the move that I'm looking to have continue for a period of time. And again, one thing I'm not going to do this week is be married to my opinions at all. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let this unfold. I won't be in the market in the first half of Monday for sure. I won't touch it. I promise you that. But as I see this move start to continue, I am looking for some retracements in these and opportunities to get into them. But gold is my favorite, and a retracement to the top of this range, and perhaps a bullish 4-hour bar on the bounce here, and I'll be all over gold and looking to get in and have a crack at it. The other thing we could do with gold, I don't have the indication here on it, but there's a nice range, and that if you look at you take an average true range, and you enter just above one of the average true range, it's a pretty good place to get into a move like this, in my view. Bitcoin, we called this as well. Live in the show on Wednesday, on Thursday, on Wednesday. When I said in the analysis, I said, I will never, ever buy the top of a candle. It's a terrible place to do it. But today I'll buy Bitcoin. And that it just looked gone to me, and it looked like it was about 14,800, I think, when it was. Is that a misprint? My Bitcoin says, is that 15,000? I thought it said 16,000. Well, I forgot even how I thought it was. But those that followed should have gone there and made some good money. Look, for mine, the issue with Bitcoin right now is where. And it's taken out these previous highs. The next resistance for it's up around 16,800, and then the top's in sight. Again, with Bitcoin for me now, while I was prepared to buy the momentum, we have taken out this high, and now I'd like to see a pullback before I got into it. NASDAQ, Tim have been talking about the NASDAQ in our trading chat a few minutes ago. A little bit of bearish sentiment around it, and I think that this line here really puts that in play a little bit. Below that line there, I think you have to be bearish on the NASDAQ. Again, would I be rushing positions in first thing Monday morning? No, not a chance. But would I be prepared to let that unfold? And again, it is a triangle. We do have a higher low here, so we are in triangle. But what I'd suggest to you guys is that we're at the top of that triangle, and that when you're at the top of the triangle, we're bearish until we get a 4-hour close above that line for me. US 500. I've got a couple of buys down here at 3.3 and 2.8, and pretty happy just to hold on to those. Again, I guess it's got the same sort of issue. There'll be a trend line running through here. And it's the same thing, really, I think, as a trade. You need to be bearish below the trend line and bullish on a break. If you've got a 4-hour break above here, then obviously we're heading to here and to here for targets. And if we get a sort of proper 4-hour reversal bar, then I'd suggest that 3.430 could be back in a target for us. Oil's a mess. We've had a really good run on oil. About, we managed to call that target perfectly. We managed to call this to the low, to the high, to the low, to the high. It was brilliant fun. The break, come down here, got that right, love it a lot. But right now, for love nor money, I'm not interested in oil at all. I just, look, I guess if you want to trade it, you get a break below this range, you can look to trade it down to here again. You get a bounce here and you can look to trade it to the top, but it's just not clear for mine. I don't really like this. And again, technically, you've got a lower high and a lower low, and it makes you think that maybe we've got to run to $30 coming on. But I'm just not clear at all, and I'll be staying well out of it. Euro dollar, brilliant fun. Julian was just talking about this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 consecutive days down. 1, 2, 3, 4 days up, and it put in an engulfing weekly bar. Interesting. Look, this is this is a big decisive move down, and another one, and then a big decisive move up. And really, for mine, I talk a lot about this. That for me, this bar sets the range, and the break of this bar in either direction would convince me I'm interested in getting in. And inside this bar, I'm pretty much prepared to range trade this. I find this happens all the time, and you guys who are listening to my analysis will be hearing this a lot. Decisive bar, inside bar coming back up. We're heading to the top of this bar here. Same pattern. I talk about it all the time, right? Decisive bar, inside bar. I really like this one particularly. Around, a half, a third of the way up the bar, that always comes back. Not always, that's a line trading, but often comes back to the top of the bar. But this bar sets up a range that lasts for some time, and you will see it all over your charts. And I really like these patterns. And a break below here or a break above here would start to give me direction on the euro. I'm not a weekly bar trader, but for now, I'll be pretty careful of it. Other than that, dollar yen, I've been hearing Julian tell us for ages that it's going down, and it has popped back down. And again, dollar weakness story, but I'll be looking for a little bit of a retracement on that before I get into it in any depth. I missed it, but look, if you've missed all of this week, there's no problem. This election, in the middle of the day, Trump looked done and dusted home, and it was a very, very slow death from there when Joe Biden got the numbers, and I'm going to say bet him as far as I'm concerned. Until proven otherwise, Joe Biden is the president-elect of the United States. And I'm happy for it to be again. Look, I don't live there. I don't really care. Whatever happens, happens. But right now, at any other time in history, the person who had the most electoral votes would be called the president-elect, and that's what I'll be calling Joe Biden until such time as there's a reason not to be. And look, I'll talk this a little bit as well. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding of things in US politics. It is different to the rest of the world. In New Zealand, if you lose a seat by 50,000 votes and you want to ask for or 50 million votes and you want to ask for a recount, you can ask for a recount. In the US, you can't. Every state has got its own law about recounts. My recollection, and I could be wrong on this, Georgia, within 0.5% is compulsory recount. Pennsylvania within 1% is optional recount. But if there's a win by 1.1%, there is no recount available to you in that state. Every state's got a law, and that law will be upheld. And they're not going to change it in the middle because it doesn't suit anyone. It's not the same system as the places that we live, and this will play out differently. Once you've got through that recount process, you can put whatever legal action you want to, but to contest an electoral vote in the US, you've got to provide evidence as to why. And we'll wait and see whether they've got that or not. Who knows? I mean, maybe he's got all of it, and maybe Trump wins this by a landslide. Maybe Trump has, maybe Trump has all the postal votes disqualified, and he becomes the highest winning president of all times. All of Biden's votes to get disqualified, and Trump wins. And let's hope there's not a result like that. Let's just hope there's a result where the candidate who had the most votes to get the most electoral votes wins, and we'll wait and see. It's not a politics show. I guess we don't need to get into it too much at all. Look, that's my spin on the market at this stage. Alexis, fundamentally for you, what's the big stuff in play at the moment?
Hi guys, hi Paul. Well, I think big stuff for me currently. I think it's the dollar Sing. Probably because I live here in Singapore, so I am paying a little bit more attention to that because it is at a very interesting level. So I'm just going to do a share screen and show you guys what I will be waiting for because I think it's interesting where it's at. I mean, normally I don't trade dollar Sing as often because it doesn't really move very much. But I think the levels are interesting. So I'll just give you guys a bit of a backstory for those who don't live in Singapore. So this is an article for the local paper. So this is what I'm highlighting. The Monetary Authority of Singapore, the MAS over here, uses this so-called Sing dollar nominal effective exchange rate. So instead of interest rates, we actually use this to kind of regulate the currency. And because we are very dependent on trade, this is usually allowed to float within an unspecified band, So should this get out of hand, MAS steps in by buying or selling Sing dollars. So this is just a really kind of a brief teaser on the extent of government intervention in Singapore. Where we do a little bit more, I would say, exploration, then it will be interesting to, just see, I have gone through the Singapore monetary policies, and several parts of this article, I think, pretty much summarizes, that they are expecting a little bit of weakness in the Sing dollar because, they want to get the Sing dollar weaker so that it can recover a little bit better. So the next interesting date I'm waiting for, this is from the MAS website, is somewhere in November. November 14th, which is I think another next couple more days, next week, there is going to be some kind of release in its data in terms of whether or not, it probably will help in making allowing the government to decide what they want to continue doing with the currency. So with this in mind, the levels that I am looking right now on the Sing dollar is, let me pull up the chart. All right, over here. So this is I'm going to go on monthly chart first. So this is a monthly chart. And I think you can see 2015 onwards, you can see it's really a very nice tight band. The purple highlighted area over here, it's the 2016 election. I just wanted to see, what was, what happened with the Sing dollar after the election. But again, it just stayed within this really tight band. So if we look in to, I would say, the current period, why I'm interested in this currency pair at the moment is because it is at a nice historic level. So historically, I think the government has kept the band, at a low of about 1.35. I would say it's a ballpark. Whether or not they overshoot or undershoot, I guess it's it really depends on how the government predicts where it's going to go. So there is a little bit of space over here, which I am looking to see whether or not it will react to the continued weakness of the dollar. So this is the area of, I would say caution. All right, because I am looking for the government to step in and start to regulate the currency back up. But whether or not that will happen, I would like to at least wait till midweek next week to see whether there's any movement below this line and whether or not, in reaction to the weakness of the US dollar, whether or not it will kind of go into a lower band, and then try to, if it does, then of course we could pick it up from here. And that I will rely on the technicals to help me out over here. So this is on the monthly time frame. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to zoom into the shorter time frames, just to see the movement of this pair based on market reaction. So this is the daily time frame. So same thing in the run up to the election. The US dollar has weakened and the Sing dollar, of course, reacted to that as well. And in fact, actually it broke the previous lows of this area. Indecision bar over here is consolidating. So really, I think it's a matter of Monday when the government offices open and they reassess the currency, whether or not they will just allow the currency to weaken further strengthen further in terms of dollar Sing, or would they start to intervene over here and start to push it up to probably a preferred band, I would say. So I am looking for opportunities on the Sing dollar because it's really pretty rare it comes down to this area. So this is why I am paying attention because it is a good price to so-called get in here. If it's somewhere in the middle, then it's really hard to tell. but since it's already at a band low, then probably a good opportunity might come out. So I am looking on that. In terms of the other currency pairs, I think I would still be looking at Aussies. So the Aussie still has decent numbers coming out, but again, I think the reactionary traits next week is in terms of will the dollar continue to still weaken? But of course, again, wait for retracement. So I will kind of wait out in terms of fundamentally to let things shake down a little bit. But statistically, the economies that are still doing a little bit better haven't changed that much, because the stats don't change as often as we would have liked. The US is having really good numbers though, but again, we are expecting so-called stimulations to be coming out. It's a matter of how much and all that. So I guess the weakness is still there despite its decent so-called statistical numbers. Probably the pound is the one which is a slight of a question mark for me right now because Brexit has been going on for really, really long. So I think I will be trading the pound with a pinch of salt, but it's more of its correlation to the other currencies instead of the pound itself. So my focus next week will be on the Sing dollar, the Australian dollar, and of course with an eye on the US dollar to see the direction I should bet against. That's about all for me this week.
Alexi, would you mind? Can I get that dollar Sing chart back up for a second?
Dollar Sing chart.
Hey guys, look, I do apologise. I've missed a couple of questions in my session. I will ask Julian when he comes in if he can help in his session. Your dollar Sing chart. Look, one of the things I find really interesting with dollar Sing, Alexis, and perhaps you just blow it out a little bit. One of the things that's really changed for mine and dollar Sing trading over time, other way. Sorry. So if you could zoom in a little bit, that'll do. Not quite that far. This the bit before that really interests me. So dollar Sing has always had these periods of time where it runs in perfect ranges where it's clear that the Singapore government is intervening, and you can see the top and bottom of the intervention. But the thing they've also done recently, in my view, is they've let it move and they've managed it in bands. And when you see dollar Sing trending, it gives you a beautiful, beautiful trend where you can see them, they pop it down, buy it up, let it pop down, buy it up, and they do let it go, and they create these beautiful channels on these charts, beautiful, really clear channels, nice places. So it goes nice and sideways there, and they all of a sudden it breaks out and they can't afford to do it anymore. So there it goes in this lovely channel down, and it's just another one. And what connects the two is these channels, and these channels now look to me like they're not completely free market. Even the one, it's clear that there seems to be really good trading in between. Yeah, some nice stuff. And I like the channel between the one you're talking about there, where you just see great cyclicity and great move down. And it doesn't look to me like a market move. It looks to me like the Singapore government is involved, even when it's not a. We always think of ranges, and Geoff's great at this stuff, right?
Yeah.
We think of ranges as being sideways, but they seem to be managing at times as well in these diagonal ranges, which fascinates me and makes for some beautiful trend trading. I know I heard you and Ainslie talking the other day about getting into this, and there's been some lovely opportunities. In fact, I would have thought in the last 12 months, dollar Sing might have been one of the best currency pairs to trade when I think about it. I haven't traded a lot myself, but it just seems to have given some really, really nice movements and some really, really nice opportunities. Thanks for that, Alexis, much appreciated. Look, I've got a room full of the team, and one of the things that makes it different and why we are so lucky is because we have a trading team, a group of traders who work together and bring all kinds of knowledge and different perspectives on all kinds of different things. That is the strength of the organisation, without doubt. Next up for us is Julian. Julian, how are you doing?
Hey, Paul. I'm good, thanks. And, happy Sunday to everybody, wherever you are in the world. So, look, it's been a really interesting week. I don't think there's any other way of describing it than that. I think we can probably all safely say that there's something extraordinary has happened this week, and whatever the outcome, and I think it's pretty obvious that Biden seems to have this. The extraordinary continues with his inability to have won the Senate. So the race was a lot tighter than anybody thought, and I think the consequences for that have been that He now has a de facto confused political branch that is going to struggle to get a huge amount done. But I think from his perspective, he'll re-engage internationally. And I think that's the key message that I think he wants to get over to people as quickly as possible. Now, what does that mean? Because we have to interpret all of this stuff, right? We can't just say, oh, well, that's all very interesting, Julian, but what do we do next? So I think the initial moves we've seen this week, which have been fairly US dollar negative, I don't think is a negative thing. I think it just is a thing. And we'll just see how that plays out. What I will stress around this is that, when we sat down last Sunday, we looked at the markets and we said the euro was 5 days down. And then we're looking at it this week and now it's 5 days up. And it's pretty, I think you could be safe to say that it's fairly confusing as a starting point in terms of what you'd like to do next. The key message I think we've got here with the euro is that there's a outside week taking place and it's looking fairly positive. So the bias is to the up, but there's a lot of other markets out there which I think are a lot easier to trade than this one. So my view about the euro is, yeah, okay, all right. Tricky, probably going up, but if it's going up, I think it'll drag everything else with it. And let's go and look at some of the other ones. So Ainsley, I'm sure, will be talking about gold later on, but I just want to highlight the fact that gold is a market that I'm interested in. I happen to have a position in gold in euro terms rather than dollar terms, but it doesn't matter. It's the same chart. This is a weekly breakout, right? And we've seen a really boring 3 or 4 months in gold where nothing has happened of any interest whatsoever, and then this turns up. Right? I think this is a key message for you as a trader, right? You've got to sort of swing with the time, and the time is saying that maybe something is changing in gold. Look, if it takes out 1900 on the downside, I think you can safely say that whatever last week was, it's not going to be going forward. Possibly 1910 or 1915. Until that point, it looks like we have a trend on our hands, or the beginning of a trend on our hands, and this might well end up heading back to the highs again. So the question is then how you play that, right? Because we had a big range expansion on Thursday, and a consolidation on Friday. If we get lucky enough to open lower tomorrow, I think that would be an interesting opportunity. If not, then I think it's really just about where you see the value in either buying a new high or else trying to buy a retracement. And the trend is up. Let's respect that and we'll see what happens. But I think to me, it's much clearer as a picture than you're seeing in the euro. And there's a number of other markets that are exhibiting the same strength. Last week, again, we talked about if there was anything I wanted to do, probably I was going to be bullish of stocks, because both of those two, the two outcomes, we didn't think it was going to be completely hung, but both the two outcomes were probably going to be bullish for the stock market. Different lengths of time, but it was going to be positive. And so here we are, right? We're in this situation whereby if you'd have bought on Monday, you were never taken out in the S&P, and you're sitting on quite a substantial profit now on the week. And that trade has worked out brilliantly. Now, the question is, what do you do next? So I suspect there'll be some consolidation. But again, we're trying for a new trend unfolding, certainly for the next 2 to 3 weeks. So
Julian, do you want me to bring some charts up for you?
Sorry?
Do you want me to share some charts as you go through this stuff?
Sure, that'd be great, Paul. Thank you. So really, from my perspective, again, when you look at stocks and you think, gosh, they're bullish, the S&P's traded pretty well, and that's awesome. But actually, if you'd have taken the trade in the Nikkei, you'd have done much better. So, not the Nasdaq. I think that's the Nasdaq one there, Paul, isn't it? So, was that the US? Is that S&P 500? Well, that's brilliant. Well, yeah, look, you can see, guys, where this thing bottomed last week, and there was a seasonal bias, and we did talk about this, right? Saying that if you were going to do anything, it would be to the bias to be on the long side, and that trade's worked out really well, right? And the Nasdaq has done okay, but really the Nikkei's done best of all. I don't think you can put a Nikkei chart up there, Paul, and I'm afraid I can't do it. It's on my other computer. But guys, go and investigate the Nikkei, right? You'll see it's done incredibly well. So that actually was trading much better beforehand, and has then since exploded. So there's a lot of reasons right now to say that's handy and that's good. And that's a much clearer trend. Oh, thank you very much, Paul. There we go. So that's a brand new high on the Nikkei. Right? That's pretty powerful. And that happened before the election result was announced, right? So, so when we're looking at this and we're thinking about what's going on, just remember all of these things, right? The markets that are trading okay beforehand probably suggest that they're going to have that result afterwards. Anyway, where do we go from here, right? Which is all we're really interested in. What do we do tomorrow? So let's look at those markets that I think potential trends are. Dollar yen is interesting. As Paul said, I've been trying to call a break lower for some period of time. It's hit its target that we've had recently, dollar yen. So if you look at the spike that we had on Wednesday and then spin that down, that gives you a target area roughly where we are at the moment. So vaguely 104.40 to 105.40 gives you 103.40, you know, thanks, Paul. That sort of is the target area that we've got to at the moment. Don't see, I think we could see some consolidation for a couple of days, but the trend to me is down, right? So then how do we play that? So trying to, again, do you sell a new low or do you sell a retracement? I'll leave it up to you guys how you trade that depending on your methodologies. I think this is clearly the overall trend here has been down for some time, and this is maybe the point that it's going to accelerate. Interesting, the last two elections, dollar yen rallied this time around, but it definitely trended. This time around, we have a dollar yen fall, and maybe this time it might also trend, but in the opposite direction to the one that we expected, which is interesting. It seems that dollar yen is desperate to do something, right? You can see it's a bit like a coiled spring at the moment, which I think is the same story in gold as well, right? Nothing happening for weeks and weeks on end, and now we're starting to get a move. So respect that volatility breakout, if you like, and what that's going to look like. And we're way behind. We're lagging way behind what's going on in Bitcoin, right? And in the cryptos, right? Who have broken out. They broke out about I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago. We'll discuss Bitcoin in a minute, but they broke out some time ago, and the other commodity markets and asset markets weren't really following it, and now they're starting to follow it. So this is interesting, right? So just bear that in mind, that there's some strong trends starting here. That's pretty much. Oh yeah, I just want to mention one more thing, Paul, as well too. I'm getting quite interested in the oil market. The oil market has been boring for quite some time now, and it tried the downside, and here we are, right? Here we are, still struggling to make much headway, but just underlying this, there's a real structural shift going on, the term structure in oil. So that's not the price today in the spot market. You can see that on the page in front of you. I'm talking about the price at Christmas 2021 and Christmas 2022. That term structure in oil is flattening. That's a very medium-term bullish signal. We're looking like the market is shifting from a contango structure to a backwardated structure. That's very interesting. That suggests that supply has been eaten up, and it also suggests the market is thinking very clearly about the vaccine situation and what's going to happen when that happens, and what's going to happen to growth, and where the opportunities are. So I don't know whether oil is going to go up this week, next week, or in a month's time. Hopefully it'll matches with the seasonal in Q1, but I'm actually quite bullish on this sector. The best cure for high prices is high prices, and similarly the best cure for low prices, and we're seeing that unfold in oil at the moment, right? So oil is secularly cheap. Nobody in the States who's in the tight oil market, so that's the stuff that fracking is making any money, apart from the guys who have bought bankrupt stocks. So realistically, there's a opportunity here, I think, for the oil market to move back to the 60s and 70s very easily, very quickly. And I don't know when that's going to be, but I suspect it's coming. And again, as I said to you earlier, the best way to decarbonize the entire world is to put oil at $200, because that then means that people will have to find an alternative. And so at that price, there'll be many, many substitutes, especially electric cars. So here's the thing, right? So then how do you achieve decarbonization quickly? If you're Joe Biden, well, you don't worry too much about the trying to bring regulations in. You just change the price of oil, and then lo and behold, something happens, right? Not that he can change the price of oil, but they could just, for instance, start to buy more for the strategic reserve and soak up the supply. So watch for signs like that, things that he will be doing, which supports the industry and soaks up some of that supply, which would then normalize the price a little bit higher than where it is now. So that doesn't something you got to watch the headlines every day on. You just got to be aware of what's happening. So that's on my radar, on my watch list right now for what's taking place. Paul, that's me.
Mate, I've got a couple of questions for you before you go, if that's okay.
Sure.
Mate, someone asked me when I was up and I didn't answer it. What's the chance of S&P gapping up Monday? It's got to be reasonable, doesn't it?
Well, certainty is always a good reason for stock markets to rally.
Yeah, look, if it liked the result, then it should like the result more now than it did on Friday. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, this trend line looks important to me. I think now this trend line does play the game, right? We get a gap above that, and then it closes. All of a sudden, I get quite bullish on it again. So interesting. There was another question that I got asked. I've got a couple of questions for you afterwards. I did say that I'll get one answered. Why is the US stock rallying?
Why is the US stock market rallying?
Yeah.
Why is it rallying? Well, because the certainty of the election is important, and the seasonal time now is for it to rally. We highlighted there were two seasonal times for the stock market to rally, right? One was the last week in October. That didn't work out. The second one is the first week in November. I think it's safe to say that one's been a winner, right? If you'd have bought it somewhere near the bottom of those two red lines, you're now sitting on quite a substantial profit and feeling very pleased with yourself.
Right, I've got a couple of other questions for you. Mate, the broadcast group's going pretty well. I noticed the other day that you've taken more trades in the last 3 months than the previous 9. So we're getting good numbers. Still a nice winning ratio. Lots of I think we've had 11 out of 12 winning months as far as pips go. Going well.
Thanks, Paul. I really appreciate it. And look, the broadcast group is my way of showing people that I sort of walk the talk a little bit, and that's been going now. How many years have we been doing that for, Paul? Is that like 3 years or something like that?
It's 3 years. Yeah, I think 1 year you dropped below 4,000 pips in profit for the year.
Thank you, Paul. So, look, the game plan behind that is to introduce people to trading via hopefully some reasonable calls about what's going to happen next. And I'm always encouraging everybody in my, not necessarily in the broadcast group, but in my trading group, to actually enhance their skills, because trading is a lifelong journey, and there's never the right time to start, but there's certainly many opportunities out there to make money in the markets, as I'm sure we've demonstrated by virtue of the fact that we've just talked 15 or 20 minutes about 4 or 5 different markets. Great piece again from Lexi about the Singapore Monetary Authority and the influence they have on that particular cross rate. I have to say that monthly chart looks like that market is going significantly lower. An outside month that's as powerful as we've seen just now. And what are we now? It's hang on a second. It's like the 7th of November. If this thing turns out, if that Singapore dollar continues to trade that way, then that's a pretty powerful outside month down, and it's got to have a crack at those lows. That'll upset the MAS, but I think there's a inevitability about some of these currency markets now, which is becoming clearer and clearer, right? When the US dollar talks about inflation and modern monetary theory as being a core part of what they're going to be doing next, then a monetary authority like Singapore, who talks about inflation still stuck at 0, is pretty much saying that their currency is going to be rallying and they're going to have to do a lot more defending. So we'll see how that spins out. I suspect we're on our way down to that lower band that you've just highlighted there, Paul, just to stress the monetary authority into cutting interest rates, possibly into negative territory. So when the US decides it wants to inflate, the world has to either join them, or if they're going to fight them, they're going to find their currency a lot higher. So, look, I think these things are great, and we're going to talk about some cryptos in a few minutes, I guess, as well too, about what's going on there, and that's a very bullish environment as well, right? So, a lot of asset markets around the world.
Well, Shuker's going to be a happy man when we get to him. But I've got a couple of other questions just while I've got you here before you run away. Modern monetary theory. Leon's going to talk about it in the expo, the New York Times Expo on the 21st and 22nd of November. Wow, it's fascinating, isn't it? You couldn't have convinced any sensible economist in the world a year ago that modern monetary theory was anything but a complete pile of shit. And now we're printing the money, and we printed a lot of it, and inflation hasn't tumbled out of control yet. And this suggestion that it's possible to print money without that happening, and basically finance our deficits with it, it's building some momentum. I got to say, I'm going to sit neutral on it right now, but might be worth doing an hour on at some stage, Julian, and having a proper look at this MMT stuff, because it's going to be people who are listening to the show that don't even know what MMT means, 6 months from now, guys, you're going to know what MMT means, because it is the wave that's coming. This is the way politicians can promise us everything and never pay for it. And they're going to want to do that.
Yeah, it's a bit like Keynesianism when that started out in the 1950s. You're dead right, Paul. Look, it's becoming a fact of life. Often trends start in strange places, but this one hasn't. It started in the States. And I think that whatever my reservations are about whether government should be big or small or anything else, be the first person to admit it doesn't matter what I think. It really matters what the market's doing and what the market thinks. And right now, this is the latest economic fashion. I have to say that, quite frankly, monetary economists haven't had a very good track record of predicting anything, let alone the rate of inflation over the course of the last 15 years. So I still stand by my criticisms of MMT in the sense that, are these guys going to do it any differently? But I am also recognizing the fact that in doing something differently, they're at least doing something. And I have had the firm belief that since 2008, QE, although it looked big, was never, ever enough. If you did 4 billion and you got no inflation, that probably means you needed to do 8. And they just didn't realize the extent of the problem that they had unfolding in front of them. And I think what worries me is sorry, Paul, we'll get onto this in 2 seconds, but what worries me is that modern monetary theory mustn't be confused. Look, some of it makes perfect logical sense to people. Mustn't be confused with a shortage in the Eurodollar market, right? And I think that there's 2 things at play here. And my worry is that they'll try and solve one thing without realizing they're going to disrupt the second. And that's really important. And that's going to be very exciting for us, because that'll mean huge amounts of volatility. This will not be a smooth journey. And there's feedback loops, right? I think they can solve the problems of the dollar shortage around the world, which would probably bring inflation back and stop the velocity of money falling quite quickly if they just sorted out the Eurodollar market. But the Fed doesn't care about that. That's not its job, and it's not going to make any attempt to do that. So I think MMT, here we come. Enjoy the ride. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be fun, but it'll certainly be volatile.
It's going to be fun. One of the things I always love with MMT is even the biggest fans of MMT say, look, eventually you get to the point where it's going to be inflationary, and as long as the politicians immediately stop spending money, it'll be fine. And so all we're relying on is politicians to be responsible with endless bags of money. So we're watching MMT.
There are some track records around the world which would cause you to question that thesis.
Yeah. It's going to be good. One thing is, Julian, if they do it, it is going to be a fun ride for a while. Asset prices are going to go all over the place. It's going to be interesting, and we will watch as it unfolds. I don't think a vote for Biden would be a vote for MMT personally, not long term. I don't think he's going to be just forever by put money in and run it. We'll wait and see.
Yeah, look. I think just actually on this, Paul, right? One of the things that you've got to bear in mind, guys, is that if you're thinking about MMT, you can't do this in isolation in one country, right? So the US can't suddenly say, right, we're going to adopt this and spend boatloads of money on loads and loads of things, right, without affecting the currency. As it affects the currency, what you're actually doing is exporting all of your deflation to everybody else. And then what does that mean, right? We just talked about what's going to happen in Singapore. We're looking at cryptocurrencies rising, right? These things are all deflationary, okay? Essentially, you're just exporting deflation everywhere, right? And this is the problem that everybody has the challenge to manage, right? How are you going to manage this stuff? What happens if the New Zealand dollar goes to 90 against the US? What happens if the Aussie goes back to 110? What happens if dollar CAD goes back to even, right? What does that mean? It means that those countries are importing all that deflation at a time when they don't want it either. So what are they going to do, right? What's all these people going to do? It's pretty obvious what's going to happen here, right? Everybody's going to be forced to respond, right? The MAS will be forced to respond. So will the RBNZ. So will the RBA. So will the Royal Bank of Canada, right? Everybody's got to respond, right? So they're going to look at their own inflation target and go, well, we've got to do something as well. We've got to start printing money too. Otherwise, our currency is going to strengthen dramatically. That's where the volatility comes from, because it's not like everybody's going to suddenly dawn on them at 3:10 on Wednesday that this is what's going to happen. There'll be a huge amount of volatility as we go through that process.
Look, Shukri just said, bring on MMT, cryptos will go to the moon. And he's right, cryptos will go to the moon. Yeah. The problem is when you sell the cryptos back into the money you bought them with, the money you bought them with is going to be worth nothing. So it is a bit relative how this will work out. And I think we should leave it. I do think it's in the future, maybe before Christmas, Julian might do an hour on this somewhere with you. I do a special show on MMT and talk about it. Might get a couple of others, again, Leo might join us. And just a bit of a panel about it, because I think to pretend that it's not coming in this world is, that is bury your head in the sand stuff. It is coming, and it is coming.
No, 100%. It is coming. Whether I agree with it or not is an irrelevance. It's coming.
Yeah,
right?
I agree with that completely. Thank you very much for your input, as always, guys. Julian will be speaking in New Opportunities Expo on the 21st and 22nd. We'll give him a chance to get into that broadcast group. Julian will open up 4 or 5 spaces at that event for people who want to join it. Join that there. Thank you, mate. Shukri, so crypto to the moon and back, you think, my friend?
Yes, I do, because Trump didn't like cryptos. So we taught him a lesson. Let me show you. We have a love-hate relationship with Trump, actually, but I'll tell you why it's good. So, 1 week before the election, crypto scammers defaced Trump campaign. See, we don't like him, but he's been good, and I'll tell you why. Now, this was why, he views crypto as a threat, but his countermeasures were actually on regulation. So what he did was good because he made it safer. That's why all the corporates are coming in. So actually, he contributed to the crypto rally, although he didn't like it. And now with a new president, guess what? We have to figure out, does the new president have crypto friends? Well, this is even better because it seems he does. Welcome, Joe Biden. Okay, let's see here. Look at that. Cryptocurrency CEO donated second largest amount to Joe Biden's campaign. So I think on the 16th, I'll do a special show on Monday to see, hey, what is related to some cryptos that could be related to Biden and Kamala Harris. And look at this. This is the platform FTX. And if you guys want to look at the token, it's here. It's called FTT. Okay, this is a token called FTT. Oh, my internet is, here it is. It's FTT USDT. That's it. So that's Biden. And then there are a lot of interrelationships here. What about Kamala Harris? What is she doing? Oh, surprise, surprise. VP team includes crypto-friendly Sacramento Kings. This is a basketball team. So it's good that someone from the NBA is there. And then you have to ask yourself, what is a crypto that is going to be hot in the NBA? Guess what? This is the NBA, isn't it? So this is a new family of cryptos like cards, cards on the blockchain. And it is called NFTs. So who is playing here? It's a company called Dapper Labs. Dapper Labs is, of course, the owners of the crypto called Flow, which broke all kinds of records when it basically went for an IEO. So crypto look very, very different under Biden versus Trump. So I'm very bullish on it. It's just that only on, give me 1 week to do the relationships there, and we'll give you some cryptos that could possibly go up because of this. Now look at Bitcoin, and I'm tell you what happened. So this is very interesting. This is because of Trump too. It went all the way to like 16, almost 16. Okay, in some exchanges it was 15.9. But look at that extreme bullishness. And I told you we were here last week, right? And I said my concern was there was 1 billion worth of Bitcoin that was moved. And usually when it's moved like that, it usually goes into an exchange. Well, I was wrong. Look where it went to. This is very funny. This is because of Trump. Look, Fed sees stolen Bitcoin worth more than 1 billion. So what they did was this Bitcoin was from this site called the Silk Road, and they managed to seize it, which is why I told my students on a class on Friday that, don't think you can hide from these people. There's so much information now, and they have so many analyses. They probably know the owner of the wallet. So basically, they managed to track him and forced him out. So what's going to happen after this is that they will, usually they auction this off. I wonder why they will. I wonder when they will, because I'd be willing to buy Bitcoin cheaper. So, because this guy, it's been in the wallet since Bitcoin was $200. Okay, so let's see what they do next. Anyway, Bitcoin is extremely bullish. When does it really go out? Let's go back to 2016. Same thing, presidential election. When does, and this looks like the chart now, right? This could easily be 20. This could easily be 16 here. When does it really break out? It tried to break out here. Let's look here. Well, it tried to break out here, and it tried to break out again. When was this? 21st November. Isn't that the week of Thanksgiving, Black Friday? Decisive breakout, and that's what we are looking for Bitcoin here. I'm just waiting for it to correct below this. I think it's a buy. The next breakout, sayonara. But I'm more bullish on Ethereum because of Ethereum 2.0. I think this is something that's much more easier to read. It's more clearer. We are now, we tried to break out here to 485, didn't quite hit it. Look at the support here. It's at 415. This is the 20 moving average. Looks like it will really cross here for a nice convergence point. This is a good point to buy around here. But this depends on also news because there is Ethereum 2.0. And the exciting thing about Ethereum 2.0 is that staking has begun. Okay, so Ethereum 2.0 is due to start on December 1st. They need 524,000 Ethereum to be staked. And how are they doing now? Well, let's see here. Where is this Ethereum news over here? And it's good, you know, so far, I think they already have, yeah, even the owner of Ethereum, the guy who invented it, gave like 3,200 Ethereum. And this is going to be when? So they need this by December 1st. How much do they have now? I think they have 39,000. See, they need 16,384 times 32. That's about 524,000. They so far have 39,173. So this is good because it will remove all the sellers out. And this is something, if you hear in crypto, see what is really driving cryptos now. Okay, it goes up, you want to sell, but there's something called staking. If you keep it there, they give you interest. They give you interest. On Ethereum, I believe it's about 18.9%. So you suddenly have a deflationary asset that's going up against the US dollar. If you stake it and don't do nothing with it, and you can do it, and probably the most famous ones for doing this are Ethereum, Polkadot, and also Cosmos, and then you get interest on top of that. Life is sweet, Paul, and that's why I say that cryptos are indeed going to the moon. The fundamentals are there. Again, I've been listening to a lot of Bitcoin, and it seems to be coming out on all these mainstream media, especially CNBC. CNBC mentioned that they were looking at the dollar index. They say that if it breaks 91.69, it goes to 88.1, and they were comparing it to Bitcoin. So no more fear of Bitcoin, okay? It is really coming to the mainstream now. It is really coming of age. And that's it for now. Happy days ahead, like Geoff says.
Cheers, cheers, Shukri. It does sound like happy days ahead for crypto. We'll watch this one. Anything else? I just got to watch the price action and trust the price action. It's certainly an interesting run on that. We'll see you on the 21st, 22nd as well, right, mate?
Yes.
You'll be
and
presenting
one more thing. Yeah, we could have another class after that, right? Okay, guys, I won't tell you this because I have to keep it a surprise. I see a big, because when I was investigating this Kamala and Biden relationship, there is a company there that has a very big crypto undertaking, and guess what? They haven't been listed yet. You guys know what that means, right? If you can get on the listing, or if they do an airdrop, guess what, guys? Free money. Be ready for that.
We like free money. Roy's asking, is there something like that for XRP? That'll be Ripple, won't it? Interest paying.
I don't see a lot of things in Ripple because, you know, I think DeFi has kind of overtaken Ripple. It's overtaken by events. And now it's November, right? Yeah, now it's November. I did read a couple of months ago that Ripple would have some staking. It has not happened. So Ripple is like one of these old ones. So yeah, it's stuck in the range between 25 and 30. But would I put my money there? No, because there are other opportunities. In fact, now I'm going to look at the Kamala and Biden theme now.
I get it. Ripple's one of those old-fashioned, outdated cryptocurrencies. It must be, what, 3 years since it's launched?
Yes, 4 or 5 years. Because
4 or 5 years old now. It's done. It's
Ripple is not decentralized, guys. Yeah, Ripple is centralized, okay? It's not decentralized. So it goes against the basic tenets of crypto. And is it a good investment? Probably. Is it going to go somewhere fast? I don't think so.
Mate, who's Ripple? Ethereum's Google, isn't it? Who's Ripple?
Ripple is like, it was supposed to replace the Swift payment system. Banks use it a lot.
So they, with Ripple, have they locked it to the US dollar so you can use it as an exchange more easily? Is that what they did with it?
Yes, they do. They do. It
Tell
was
you what, long term, that's got some wheels, because if you're going to use a crypto to buy something, you want that crypto to have a consistent value back up against the currency. So
yeah.
I don't mind that model so much. I know it's old, and dated. I get that it's just past this beast, like myself.
But the good thing, Paul, about Ripple, it won't move around a lot, so you can sleep at night.
Mate, I would imagine that anyone with any sense keeps their risk on crypto to a level where they can sleep at night anyway. When you have an investment and you can't sleep at night, that is not an investment. Mate, thank you very much, Shukri. Looking forward to more from you. What time is the Crypto Moon show this week?
7:50, guys. Don't miss it.
7:50 Monday, Wednesday. Is that right?
Yes, Monday and Wednesday. Yeah.
Fantastic, man. I'm sure people will be in
for
that.
Guys, you guys have to position yourself for this month, right? Because once it's Thanksgiving, I think we're gonna Thanksgiving for the Crypto Moon.
Look, if you believe, and people can believe whatever they want, the world will tell us whether they're right or wrong. But if you believe that crypto is technical and not fundamental because it doesn't have interest rates, etc., generally, if you like, then the money in the move to crypto is up to 20,000, right? Bitcoin's going to go there. And when it goes there, I think it's a lot less predictable. Is Bitcoin going to touch that high, and is it going to pull back a long way? Is it going to range for a while? Is it just going to burst straight through like gold did? I think that's reasonably unclear. Is Bitcoin going to go there? I'd say the weighting right now is probably 60-40 that Bitcoin is going to go there in this market. And the money to be made in crypto is right now, right? This is not a starting a year kind of market. This is a get into it kind of market, right?
I absolutely believe the way Bitcoin has been behaving, it would be good. Again, this is a wish. It'll probably come true. And 2020 at 20. That'll be nice.
Actually, be really interesting. Really interesting. One of the things that happened to Bitcoin last time, and correct me if I'm wrong, Shukri, because you'll be better than this, but it did top out at Christmas. And all of a sudden it hit those levels, and all of a sudden at Christmas there was no volume, and it just crashed away with no volume. So it'd be really interesting if it's, we must get you paid, gosh, what's happened to my brain? One of those charting softwares, TradingView at some stage. Be really interesting if crypto started to get around those levels around Christmas. That would spook me a little bit, because there can be. I know it's open 24 hours, 7 days, and all the rest, but unfortunately, when everybody goes on holiday, there's no depth for anything, and the only thing that does go up at that time is gold, and that's a different story, and Ainslie will talk us through that.
Yes, correct. Yeah, it did top out around Christmas here, but 1 month later, guess what went up? The Ethereum guys went up. Then it was time for the Ethereum and the smaller ones. Yeah, you're right. It is, because Geoff always mentions wax on, wax off. When Bitcoin goes up, the smaller coins go down. When Bitcoins go down, the smaller coins go up. So if you see the Ethereum peak here, it was, say, about 15 January, a month later.
It'd be interesting to have a chat with Ash about this, about whether you'd, I know Ash is currently long Ethereum, but whether it'd be an interesting play right now to be long Bitcoin, short Ethereum as a bit of a hedge on it, so if you had some problems, they could balance up, Again, I am over 17 years old, so I know very, very little about cryptocurrency. Just chatting really at this point. Cheers, Shukri. Thanks for your knowledge, mate. Appreciate it very much. Ainslie, Golden Oil, you coming in?
I am. Oh, hang on, just.
Ainslie, while you're sorting out whatever you're sorting out, I just want to make you're not just a technical trader on these things. You have a degree of expertise. You buy paid information on them from what are they? Gosh, my brain. Sunday afternoon, my brain hasn't come back to working yet. Newsletters and that kind of stuff. You do your research, right? You know your gold and oil market pretty well, right?
I do quite a bit of research, both on oil and gold, basically because they're a little bit different to your currencies in that it's interesting things that will affect them. Like oil, for example, this last week, even with the US elections, it sort of traded sideways, and we had a bit of a drop, and we thought it was going to drop, and then it pulled back up again. And it's been interesting, all the things that have happened without a US election input. So, yeah, you've got to just be across your research and what other people are thinking and getting a feel for the sentiment and the direction of where it's going. So whilst I am very technical, I do like to actually
something. At the moment, we've got a black screen with your name on it. We've got not you on camera and no chart. Could you share a chart while you're doing this? Is there something up apart from a black screen with Ainslie and white? There's me. I think that's no better. We're better off probably having you than me, to be honest. Do you want me to share a chart on there for you?
Yeah, could you share a chart? That'd be great. And I've been for a run, so I'm not sure if me on video is a really good idea.
It's where are we starting? We're starting on on gold.
Let's go to gold. I was just saying with the fundamentals, and you've got to look at everything that's happening in the market and look at gold. How low? So we broke out of the bottom rectangle. If we drop down to a 4-hourly chart, Paul, that would be really good because it's flicked around a bit at the top there. So we had that breakout, and I've had a couple of cracks of getting in and not getting cut out at break even just to see how we were going. And you can see gold there during the election. There was that big outside bar. Yep, that just to the left, and then it thought about it for a little bit more. And a lot of the rhetoric was saying that, you know, with Biden coming in, maybe gold won't like it, it would drop down, that gold would prefer this kind of, you know, with Trump holding in and all the rest of it. Now, what's happened in the last couple of days is as Biden has taken a preferred lead, because you can't actually call it yet, can you? Even though he's got, at the moment, well, they are disputed seats. What we've got here is we've got a break to the top side. I've got a break to the, and it got to that level, and it is actually still within that previous range that we had. So if you can zoom out, so yeah, so we're still at that level there. That is a really important level. And gold likes disruption. All right, so what we've had here is uncertainty, but now we've got disruption and we've got a bit more of a direction. And you can see where gold's sitting at the moment. Still within the range of the previous rectangle, and that previous range that took months and months and months. Well, several months, it seemed like several. And then we went into the next range, and that was weeks and weeks and weeks. And we've been sitting pat. Now, seasonally, we all know that we like that pullback before the middle of December. What we've got now is sitting at the middle of the previous range, across and a breakout of the top of the current range. Do we see, and this is what it's really difficult. I'm of two minds. The seasonal bias at this time of the month at this time of the year is really strong for it to go either sideways, or definitely not up until the middle of December, or does the excitement of a preferred clear direction in the White House move it forward now, regardless of current situation? So it's a tough one to know. All I know is I've got one position on which I was trailing a very tight stop, because so if I get clipped out, that's fine, no problem. But it's to get a clear direction on this. Do you reckon? It's a hard call. It's a hard call. Yes. Look at it. Backwards and forwards. It's just like a little garden gate, isn't it? Bing, 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 bing. Backwards and forwards. And I can't, until I get a bit more information. And look, it is possible that something will happen and it'll take off. And that's why I've got a small position on, but it's not enough because of where it's landed on Friday night or Saturday morning, my time. I just can't call a direction on this one at the moment. I need a little bit more information, a little bit more to go. So at least we're not still pinging around, but we are still pinging around in the previous range. Like I said, and you know, until I'm blue in the face, gold likes levels. And we're right back at the other level that showed a lot of resistance. So, you know, here we go again. We need to know. And to be quite honest, until there's a little bit more direction in the market, it is quite possible. And if you remember me last November, I came on to TTR and you kept saying, well, what do you think's gold? And gold was just going sideways. It was just going sideways. It didn't drop down. We were looking for that pullback of that seasonal trend, but bang, straight. And then it took off in the middle of December. Whether it does that again this year, yeah, it's a hard one to know.
It's one of the things that does interest me, Angie, if I can offer a few views on this. I would normally suggest that you were long gold above, Thursday or Friday's bar, and you were probably short gold below Friday's bar. I'd be pretty careful of those levels, to be honest.
Yeah, look where they are in relation to the previous range. It's straight back in the middle of it, and that's a really strong resistance level. Yeah, so beware the false breakout.
A lot of orders here, and the market knows it, and that makes them vulnerable. And if you're going to take this short, popping it up here and taking these people in to give you some volume to have a crack short, I don't think it's out of the question. So I'd be pretty cautious of those levels, just early in the week. I like what you say about the extra thing. But one of the things, and again, we need to remember that the big money traders, they're not retail traders, and they're not going to be distracted by stuff. With the election, and again, I'm not interested in taking sides or the politics or the conspiracy theories. The facts are that the big money is going to ignore this until there's a legal claim they think will hold up. They're not going to be look, the retail guys will be, oh, Puff, he said this, and Puff, he said that, and let's do this and blow. The big guys, they're just going to be laughing at it and going, where's something that's actually going to work? And I do have a question for you. If gold rallied on Biden, or if you like, gold rallied on an undecided vote, which is what we had on Thursday when this happened. If Trump got elected, what would gold do?
They were saying that if Trump got elected, they were saying that it would be good for gold.
So it's good for gold if we get elected. It's good for gold if Trump gets elected. Apparently, it's good for gold if we've got no clear decision, because that chart tells us that's the case.
Yeah, but look where it's dropped.
Gold holds up when Biden's the clear favourite. I don't know there's an outcome here that collapses gold.
Yeah, but hang on 2 ticks. When that closed, Biden hadn't been declared. He was still at 264. A lot of dispute, a lot of recounts being ordered, and all the rest of it. So look where it's landed. It's landed right in the middle. The market had already closed, but Biden had been given 290 electoral votes. So market was already done.
This closed on Thursday. It was pretty clear that Biden was going to eventually be named the winner. And one of the things, I talked to this at the start, that people need to understand that American politics is different. And you can't just have a recount because you want to recount in every state. It's not the way it works. The laws in each state individually says whether, what the criteria is. Most states it's 1% if the results are inside 1%. In some states, inside 1%, a recount is automatic. In some states, if it's inside 1%, you can go. But if you lose by 1.1%, you can't have a recount. It's not possible. And so when they talk about all these recounts, I think that is just, again, retail crap. Just ignore it. You've actually got to find the real stuff that's going to go on there, and know you got to get out of all the gossipy stuff and try and find the factual stuff. There's stuff that they can appeal and there's stuff that they can't. And in honesty, unless I misunderstand the law over there, and I've followed a lot of these, there's actually not a lot of things that you will get a genuine hearing from. These cases are being thrown out because there's no evidence. And until you've got to turn up and say, you can't turn up and say, there was widespread voter fraud. The court will say, well, where's the evidence of that? And unless you confront it, they're going to dismiss you. If you confront it, then fair enough. If you've got it, that's cool. And maybe, again, none of us know. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Again, I think it all comes down to political alliances. People believe what they believe politically of the situation. But really, until such time as that happens, I think this is puff. And I think that the top end of the market, the bottom end of the market will swim around in it. And the top end of the market will just ignore it and get on. And I really do think they will. We'll wait and see.
Yeah. But if you did have commercial, let me tell you, if you had commercial interest, behind gold. Should be long gone on Friday.
Yeah, look, it's interesting. That was a generally speaking, the US dollar weakness that came in Thursday, and everything else retraced on Friday and didn't retrace on gold, right?
No.
Nasdaq,
So,
S&P didn't retrace in the end. Nasdaq didn't retrace. Sorry. I want a few weekly charts here. I should just come back to some daily charts.
so it is interesting that we've still got that correlation, positive correlation between gold and the S&P, whereas it used to be a negative, an inverse correlation.
Yes.
And we don't have that. Look at it.
So having just had this little general discussion around it, for gold traders on Monday, is it a watch day? Where are we? Are we looking for?
Definitely,
So
you're at a really strong level of support. Resistance at the moment. And if it goes, I reckon we're back up over 2,000 again, easily. If it likes that, breaks that level, bang, off we go.
I agree with that, Ainslie. I do think here that I said the other day, would we be in this range by the end of the election? The answer was going to be no. So I'll take the breakout as a direction, but I'm with you completely on that. That we're either going to 2,000 or we're going to is it 1840? That's that level down here.
1860 is that bottom level. That bottom.
1816.
1860 of the bottom level, and then back down to 1815, which is at the top of that breakout that you just had on before.
Now, look, I don't think that we're going to 1860 if we're going short. I think we'll be through and we'll be down here.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. That it will hit that 1860 level of support, cracks that, and then you back down to 1815. And then if it cracks that, it's good night nurse. And you've got that seasonal pullback happening.
What about oil, Ainslie? Where are we on oil?
Oh, so here we were thinking on Tuesday we were going to have a bit more of a dip. It's Wednesday. I was looking for the dip. There was a bit more of a rally, but there's some, like I said, oil's one of those things that has got so many other things happening with Aramco and OPEC Plus, and whether Biden will actually, and this is okay, part of that US projection, but at the moment, a lot of the oil analysts are saying that with Biden, he will get back onto the Iran deal. Iran will start pumping. Libya is spiking around as well with their contribution, but what they're looking for mainly, and they're more fingers crossed than anybody else, is a vaccine. You get a coronavirus vaccine, you get production back happening, you get a mopping up of the stock. As soon as that all starts to help, and OPEC keeping a short leash on all their countries and making sure that they keep to quotas instead of slipping the extra couple 100,000 barrels a day and increasing the supply when the demand is retracing, that's when you're going to have a bit more of a upside move to oil. So let's see what happens there. Again, look at that range. It's been very, as Julian pointed out, it's unexciting. Oil has been very unexciting. It's been very disappointing to trade oil the last couple of months. Very disappointing.
The range was like $2. God, that was tough.
Yeah.
Interesting this, isn't it? Because this is one of these ones as a trader where if it goes down from here, people are going to say, well, look, it's a lower low and a lower high. Of course, it's going down, right? But if it goes up, people are going to say, well, look, it's a false break, popped in, tested the previous support, put in a higher low, and then a higher high started going up. And either one of those things going, when you look back on it, could be true. And I, as I said earlier in the show, I'm out of oil.
Me too. I would love for it to pick a direction and stick to it. Most of the analysts that I've read about are still looking for oil to finish up above WTI, to be up over $45 by the end of the year, which sort of goes with a bit of a seasonal tick up for oil at the end of the year as well. So that's an interesting thing. They don't seem to have changed for that. Like I said, my gold analysts that I like to read up on as well are still calling for gold to be, by the end of year, up around that up over 2,500. Still being safe haven, still being, like I said, gold likes a bit of disruption because that's where when people start to pull money out and start to go into something safe. So let's keep an eye. We've got two good markets that we're coming grinding slowly towards their seasonal uptakes or their rallies where we're expecting those things to happen. And as you know, I really hang for the middle of December. But at the moment, we've got some solid sideways movement. And I'm as boring as it is, I can't trade it. As you know, I had a month of not trading anything on a couple of other accounts. It wasn't there. I couldn't get into it.
That's what trading's about, isn't it? It's not about trading for the sake of trading.
That's right. Yeah. You've got three options. You can take a long position, you can take a short position, or you can stay out of the market. And at the moment, I've had to stay out of the market because I haven't got the indicators to go. Very frustrating. But that's what it's about.
Indeed it is. Thank you for that, Ainslie. We'll see you in New Opportunity Expo for those. I might do a quick wrap on the New Opportunity Expo if Geoff finishes the top of the hour. We've got a staff meeting at the top of the hour. Ainslie, coming to the staff meeting?
Yes, I am.
Only a quarter of an hour. Cheers for the crosses. Over to Geoff. Geoff, let's talk technicals. What's going on?
G'day, mate. Well, thank goodness we've got something going on in terms of fundamentals where, and you asked me for technicals, I'll go in a roundabout sort of a fashion. That bloody election seems to be now over, but is it? And I'm still steering clear of the US dollar because I don't think it is, because I think we're going to have Postman Pat, I'll call him, under extreme pressure for the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We've got what, till January 20th or something like that to be ratified. That's completely out of my hands and everybody else's, of course. But if Trump can pull something out of the fire here that suggests that we've got Postman Pat giving late mail, I'll put it that way, I think anything can happen, but that's just me. And let's get away from there. That's just speculation and probably conspiracy theories and all the rest of it. But I do have a few things I want to look at, and this is the first of them. Am I sharing screen? Probably not.
You're not sharing screen. We are on camera with you, mate, but we're not sharing screen.
Okay. I'm going to talk Euro Yen at the moment, and Euro Yen to me is questionable in terms of a primary trend. I'm not 100% whether we're up or down here, to be frank. That's the monthly chart that we're looking at. That said, I do see this level through here where you can see, well, my stop losses are pretty much there. I'm already short this, but I think there's an opportunity still to get short Euro Yen, if that's your thing. As I said, I'm a little bit iffy about a primary trend, but the intermediate trend, if you like, is for me definitely down. And this is the only thing that really gives me some concern here is this double bottom at around about that 114 level. That said, we are getting towards the pointy end of the toothpaste tube, as I call it. And I think we're going to this side before we go back to that side if we do that, but then there will be a break on here as well. I'm really playing this area here, and I think we've got a decent setup. So we go down through the charts. I've got what I call a Bactrian on the weekly chart. A Bactrian, for those of you who don't know, is a double humped camel. And it looks very much to me like this is a false break going that way. And then we've got another one sitting up there. That's the second hump going that way. The interesting part of this one is on the daily chart rather than both of those charts. But I think it really does put the nail in the coffin for me as far as which way I want to trade this. I'm just going to hang on and clear a few control boxes. There we go. So a lot of you will recognize that pattern, of course. And Ash, of course, loves that pattern. It's called in the shoulders. If that's the case, then there's a neckline going through here. And if that's the case, then we have broken it clearly. We've retested it not once, but twice. And now we've put in a lower low based on that low that was the breakout of the neckline. So to me, I see only downside here. And we've got this beautiful little double pump off the monthly pivot. Both that candle and that candle are very, very interesting to me. I'm not a huge fan of trading, my style of trading, mind you, and I think it's probably a trend trader's trade more than mine, to be honest. But that candle there, I can't deny that candle there, and I have to trade it. So if that's the case, then there's the trade, and that's precisely what I've got in the market at the moment. It's the second entry because we did trade back here. I can't even remember oh yes, I can see it there. There's a nice little trade line coming through here, and that candle there was beautiful. And that's where we got in the first place. We've taken profit and we're free trading that one. So we're looking to scale in playing this bar here on Euro Yen. That's the daily chart. That was Thursday's candle, of course. Friday, we've produced an inside bar. So that's another reason to trade it for me. This is what you would call, or what I call, a key reversal bar, that one right there, followed by an inside bar across both the weekly pivot and the monthly pivot. If I don't trade that and I woke up and price was down here, I'd probably jump off the cliff, because that's just an absolute setup that I can't deny. So if you want to have a look at that one tomorrow, then I suggest that candle there is eminently tradable on Euro Yen on the daily chart. That's the first of them. Chart number 2. And I'm going to have to, I've got a very red face here with this chart. And those of you who are in, sorry, I'm trying to get rid of my pen. Those of you who are tuned into the US session, I owe you a huge apology. And the apology is because I have given you the wrong stop loss. That should be 93.15, not 93.20. I've got no idea where it came from. But there's the stop loss there at 93.15. If you had traded that and put the stop loss at that level, I'm afraid you would be out. And I'll go through that very, very closely in tomorrow's session. But we're still in, sorry, I'm still in that trade, because I did notice that on Friday that we had that stop loss at the wrong level. My sincere apologies to those of you who've suffered through that. That said, I still think that there's a trade available here for those of you who are interested. And the interesting part is pretty much an upside down version of what we've just looked at on Euro Yen. We've got a strong level coming through here. We've got a triple rejection, if you like, of that trend line or trade line, which is around about the, 94 mark. So it's pretty much a whole number as well. If you bring it up to there, it's not quite there. But if you go back to a bigger picture time frame here, you can see what we're looking at. And we've been looking at this for quite some time, in fact, months. And we got into this trade initially, and I can't remember when, but it was probably off this bounce. Would that be right? No, couldn't be. No, this one here. We didn't go that far. So we started to trade this and looking for this target area. Still there. I mean, it hasn't gone away. 2.2188, I've got it as. Beautiful confluence with the top of the ascending channel. And of course, there's a big horizontal level going through there as well. But this is the time, again, you know, every time we come here, we bounce off it, we bounce off it, we bounce off. A little bit slow this time, to be fair. And if I were thinking trading on a monthly chart, which I'm really not, who wants to tie their money up for that long? And it's only about a 2 and a bit to 1. You've got 2,500 pips available. I think you can find a better entry than that. And hopefully this is one of them. Again, I've got to take that stop loss away. This is in fact, I'll get rid of that. I don't want you guys to be trading that. It's a different scenario now. What I would be looking at tomorrow is probably looking at that candle there. if you want to trade on the daily chart. I'm already in the trade, so I don't have to look at that. I'd be much preferring to wait for a break of this trend line or trade line, the pivots as well, monthly pivot, daily, weekly pivot, and then come back and retest that area, that confluence area. I think there'll be a good trade available then, and I'll certainly be looking to scale into that if I'm fortunate enough to get that position. So, yeah, bullish, still bullish pound Kiwi. And the reason I just keep hammering at it is because if you can get maybe 100, 200 pip risk on this, your reward is going to be substantial if it actually plays out and gets up to this area here, this confluence area. As I say, we're about 2,500 pips from where we are right now. So if you can find a way in there and hang on, then I think that's probably still a good play, pound Kiwi. Now, the other one, or the next one I was going to give you guys was Aussie Kiwi. And that chart's not definitive, but these charts are. Monthly chart's giving me a very clear descending triangle, of which we've broken the upside, or the hypotenuse, if you like, come back underneath it and retested it. That's a clear signal that this is going back to the bottom of this triangle. And I'm kind of okay with that. And if you want to trade it on a monthly chart, again, I think that's eminently tradable. You could put your entry probably underneath that bar with your stop loss above that one. And I think that would be a reasonable trade to take. My bias is not in that direction, however. So that unsettles me somewhat. And then I go down to the weekly chart and I see exactly the same thing. I see a clear, well, this is really not a weekly trend line, or trade line. But it looks like we may have a false break here of that particular scenario, that particular level. And that's it there, playing out on a daily chart. So I like this. I like the fact that we've actually come back above the monthly pivot and we've retested it. Again, we've got a little bit of that confluence area on the daily chart, that ascending support trend line, and also the monthly pivot. So I think there's reason to think this can go back to and retest the top of that triangle. But I'm getting really mixed signals. You know, the weekly pivots, the weekly chart's telling me short. The monthly chart is telling me short, yet the daily chart is telling me long. I think I'd be willing to play that, but I want to get some money in the bank pretty quickly because I don't trust it. I just don't. And that's why when I said I was going to go through this chart with you, I guess I already have, but I had a firm opinion before I went down the time frames, and now I'm a little bit confused by it. So I'm not 100% on this in terms of reward, but I think there's probably a little opportunity to trade it back to this trend line, at least, maybe even back to the top of the triangle on the bigger picture. But yeah, just be careful of that one. I don't think it's a long-termer. I think this one, you might want to get in on maybe a 4-hour chart, maybe even smaller time frames, trade it up to here and then see what happens. If it turns into a false break, then go back to the bigger picture. And the bigger picture really is telling me that this is going short, completely against my bias. But there you go. We'll track that one throughout the week and see how we come out. The final chart I want to look at today is pound Swissy. And pound Swissy is telling me that we've got two things that I really like. And I should be looking at the daily chart, I think, from memory, because that chart's not telling me what I want it to tell me. That one is. And this is very tricky, I've got to say. That's why I wanted to start there. When I look at this bigger picture, I see that we're in a massive downtrend, have been for a long, long time. But we're also at what I consider to be a strong base, a very, very strong base. And we refuse to go through that level and sustain anything below that level. It doesn't mean it won't go there again, of course, but you've got to recognize that that is a level that the market is and has been looking at for quite some time. So I'm willing to play a bounce here, and I'm just not sure at the moment on the weekly chart for instance, which way that is to be, when it is to be, and a bounce up here is what I'm looking for, because you can see on the weekly chart that's completely and utterly indecisive. It's very, very difficult to pick a direction there. The good part is we're in a range and have been in a range for some time, so we can play that a little bit. But then I look at the daily chart and I see a little signal here that I like, and that signal is, again, a key reversal bar, which is this bar here. Hang on, I'll just kill that phone, guys. There you go. Followed by, it's hard to call this an inside bar, to be honest, because it's almost what the ATW people call a train track reversal. I don't know that that's the case, because it is actually inside this one, which is a key reversal bar. So going with my bias, which is long, I'm thinking very, very seriously about the direction here, or the next direction here, being long. The issue that I had with Aussie Kiwi is the same here. The reward doesn't seem to be there, and this range seems to be intact. So what I need to do is wait for this to, or either come back here and give me a false break. So those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, false break, we like trade lines, which is what this is, to be broken to the downside, find a little support level, maybe even the immediate support level there, get back above it. In particular, if it comes back above those pivots and retests it, then we'll be looking to play that long in that vicinity. We've got a little bit of room there before that high to take profit, and that's what we'd be looking to do. It is dangerous to trade into the trend line, of course, and the top of that range, which of course was last month's monthly pivot. So there's going to be a tough assignment. I think the best way for, if you're long biased, as I am, is to clear all this noise, just get out of here, get the big break going, and then get a retest of that confluence area, which is the top of that range that we've been in for weeks and weeks. And I think that's the way to play this. So I'm not suggesting that we go out tomorrow morning and play this long, but I am suggesting if it does break to the high side and we get a nice little retest, that's the direction I want to play it. And I think there's obvious targets up here. The top of that bigger range that we can see is obviously a take profit point. If it doesn't break there, then we can play it back the other way. So that's pound Swissy. And that's the 4 charts, mate, for today.
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much. So some interesting markets ahead, Geoff. It'll be interesting to see how this shakes out. And where there not much news this week, whether we do start and see some direction we can trade.
Yeah, look, the election has been a huge distraction for the market. There's no question. And you asked me the question from the get-go. Had I profited from it? And my inner answer to that is yes, because I really ignored it to a large degree, because I couldn't understand which way Biden would go. I thought Biden would win. Ultimately, so did everyone on Friday, of course. But I really didn't know what that meant to the market. Ash and I had quite a few conversations about that. So I didn't know what the dollar aspect would be. And when I get into a confused state with the US dollar, then I have to go outside of that. And the only thing I was confident about was that the Aussie was going to rally. And if the US dollar went down, as the dollar index would suggest it was going to do, and I think I showed you that chart last week, and somebody asked for it, so I'll put it up very quickly if you don't mind. There it is. And you can see very clearly that, hang on, get rid of all these ads, that this is a potential false break of that long-term trend line. That's a daily chart. And it's, of course, a dominant break of the support trend line. The only question mark here is that level there, which is exactly where the market closed on Friday, of course, at 92.22. If it were to pull back here and retest that confluence area, which is entirely possible, given that we've got a result, perhaps we've got a result of an election. If we can get a pullback to that level, then you may see a little bit of a rally or a little bit of selling on the euro, the Aussie and the Kiwi and the CAD, etc., against the dollar. But gee, I'm a seller there. I'm a real seller there. If we can get back to that, 90 to 80 mark, something like that, I'm definitely a seller there, because this is showing me a clear false break of that downtrend line on a daily chart. It's very strong, but this level here is the key. 92, what is it? 92, pretty much bang on where we closed on Friday. So I'll be watching that one very closely. If we can break clear here or come back and retest that, I'm a seller of the US dollar and a buyer of Aussie, Euro, Pound, anything against it basically, because I think it's in deep SH1T, mate.
Mate, we will watch. It's one of the things where I think it's all possible. I'm just having a look at some old stuff of yours, mate, online. Mate,
do I look younger and prettier, or I've got a beer in my hand?
You, to be honest, buddy, I was just having a look at these poster charts and just having a look at what's going on there. Really, just and mate, while you look younger, you no pretty. You've always been.
No, thanks.
No change at all, mate.
Well, I will have a beer in my hand in about 5 seconds flat.
We are going to have a staff meeting soon. Thank you for this, Geoff. I think the dollar index stuff's really interesting, Geoff. That level is important. That around that 92 level is important, and also just below us is probably 91.50 as some reasonably long-term lows. So be interesting to see how that plays out. If you print a lot of money, it's possible that your currency eventually will hit some lows. And if everybody
I don't know how long we've been saying that, and now it's actually playing out. That's the next one, hey, 88-ish.
We will wait and see, mate. It's one of the things with this kind of stuff. I think it's really cool to have an opinion, and we'll be patient and let the market tell us the answer, right? Because it could go anywhere. Look, I talked about it a few times. First of all, thanks to the team. We are getting ready for the New Opportunities Expo, November 21, 22. Everybody will be speaking there that is in the show today, and a bunch of other people. We'll have Leon and chief analyst for a large European bank on a ECB advisory committee. He'll be talking about modern monetary theory. We'll have Geoff back in. He'll be him and Ash will be talking about the US Open show. We'll have Julian and we'll have Ainslie and we'll have me, and I'll be speaking on the day. It's possible that we'll have I may speak twice over the 2 days. I think Justin may speak twice over the 2 days. Everybody will be in. We have lots of people coming. We've got Roscoe doing some DeFi as well as Shukri doing some crypto. We've got financial literacy stuff. We've got virtual staff stuff. We've got business growth stuff. Put it on your calendar. There'll be more stuff coming out with affiliate links and those kind of things. If you bring a friend along and they spend any money, we'll give you a good cut of that. Keep the date free. It's going to be pretty awesome as best we can possibly make it. We're on pretty tight time frames for it now, so we're working pretty hard. Thanks for analysis, Geoff. Great to have you on the show as well. Ainsley. Cheers, mate. Ainslie and Shukri, thank you. Julian, always have a pleasure to have him in the show and keeping an eye on and offering some perspective on what we're doing. Great as well. We had Alexis in early. We missed Lloyd tonight. Who's at a family. We at a family dinner tonight. Cheers, guys. Look, it's a week for mine still where it's not a week for opinions. It's a week for charts. It's a week for letting things unfold and be clear to you, and then making good decisions. And don't get caught in the emotion of it. And for God's sake, be really careful to try and separate what is populist. I said in that election show on Wednesday, I said, the market is telling us that Trump hasn't won this. And it was clear as a bell. And if you look at the charts, it'll tell you what's going on this week. Be patient and trust your charts is my advice for you. Be patient and watch your charts. And I think this week could be a really good trading week. Cheers, everybody. Have a good week. We'll see you. I think we've got Lloyd in Monday night. We've got Shukri in Monday night. We've got Ash and Geoff in Monday night. We've got the team back. Some other people in on Tuesday night. Wednesday and Thursday I'll be back in with Meet Your Trading Experts. We've got Ray coming and talking seasonality with us on Thursday night. Another big week, guys. Take care. Trade well. See you later.
Bye, everyone.
Hooroo.